Let's dive into a developmental perspective on risk, resilience, and prevention. This presentation, based on the work of Scott D. Jest and Alice J. Davidson, focuses on how children and families adapt and grow even in the face of challenges. As we move forward, we'll explore important concepts and strategies that help foster resilience throughout development. On this slide, you can see the table of contents that outlines the flow of our presentation. We'll start by exploring the foundational concepts of risk, resilience, and prevention science. Then, we'll review the three waves of research, moving from identifying basic correlates to understanding developmental processes and applying this knowledge in practice. We'll also discuss two key paradigms in the field, followed by an overview of the intervention spectrum and how program evaluations are conducted. Finally, we'll look at examples of evidence-based prevention programs and conclude with future directions in risk, resilience, and prevention science. This structure will guide us through a comprehensive understanding of the topic. On this slide, we focus on a critical question. Why do some children struggle while others thrive after experiencing major stress or trauma? This question drives the field of risk, resilience, and prevention science. It helps us understand the different outcomes children face and inspires efforts to build stronger community support systems. The image of hands stacked together symbolizes the power of teamwork and supportive relationships, which are key to fostering resilience in children and helping them succeed despite challenges. Here we explore some basic concepts in risk and resilience. Resilience is the ability to achieve positive outcomes despite facing serious threats or adversity. It's about adapting well when things get tough. Now, risk factors are specific traits or conditions that raise the likelihood of negative results. But what's really important is the idea of cumulative risk, the total number of these risk factors combined. This cumulative risk tends to be a stronger predictor of future problems than any single risk factor alone. The image here reminds us how crucial support and understanding are in helping someone build resilience and overcome challenges. Here we explore the first wave of resilience research, centered on the influential Kauai study. This landmark longitudinal study followed children facing early developmental risks and discovered key personal, family, and community traits that helped some of them thrive despite adversity. On a personal level, resilient youth typically showed average intelligence, sociable personalities, and strong self-confidence. Within families, close bonds with caring parent figures and consistent, authoritative parenting played a crucial role. Extending beyond the family, supportive relationships with parent substitutes and prosocial community groups also fostered resilience. Altogether, these findings highlight how resilience emerges not from unique traits alone, but from a web of interconnected, supportive influences. Here we focus on the second wave of resilience research, which moved beyond just spotting what correlates with resilience, to uncovering the actual developmental processes that help people thrive despite risk. Rudder identified what he calls protective processes. These are the mechanisms that reduce the impact of risk, prevent negative cycles from developing, and importantly, promote a sense of self-worth while opening new developmental opportunities. On the other hand, Maston highlighted what she calls fundamental systems. These are everyday adaptive capacities, like intellectual functioning, behavioral self-regulation, and the relationship between caregiver and child, which work together across various risk contexts to support resilience. The image here beautifully illustrates how a supportive caregiver-child relationship plays a central role in these processes, serving as a foundation for positive adaptation. Here, we move from theoretical research on risk and resilience to practical prevention science. An intervention is any organized effort aimed at changing individual development in a positive direction. The logic model guides how we design and evaluate these interventions, combining developmental theory with intervention theory. Developmental theory explains how risk and protective factors evolve over time without intervention, while intervention theory shows how specific activities target these factors to achieve desired outcomes. Mediators, such as targeted risk or protective factors, act as bridges between the intervention and outcomes, which can be either proximal or distal. Moderators, like gender or environment, can influence how effective the intervention is in different contexts. This framework helps us understand not just what works, but how and under what conditions, connecting research directly to real-world settings like schools and community organizations. Here we have two key paradigms in intervention logic models. First, risk reduction, which is all about preventing problems by lowering exposure to risk factors. A great example is the Back to Sleep program, which successfully reduced sudden infant death syndrome by encouraging parents to place babies on their backs to sleep. On the other hand, competence promotion focuses on building skills, health, and protective factors to encourage positive development and prevent issues before they arise. These two approaches often work together, combining prevention and development to support the best outcomes for children. Here we explore the intervention spectrum, beginning with the three main types of prevention. Universal prevention targets everyone in a setting, regardless of risk, reaching a broad audience. Selective prevention narrows the focus to individuals with identified risk factors, while indicated prevention is aimed at those already showing early signs of problems. Each approach varies in both scope and intensity, tailored to meet different needs. Next, we examine the evaluation process for these interventions. It starts with pilot studies to test specific components, moves on to efficacy studies conducted under controlled, ideal conditions, and then to effectiveness studies carried out in real-world settings. Randomized controlled trials are central throughout, helping us assess both the impact and sustainability of programs. Finally, we consider evidence and implementation. Evidence-based programs come from rigorous trials and meta-analyses, but translating this evidence into practice presents challenges. These include balancing program fidelity with necessary local adaptations, plus ensuring that programs are effectively disseminated and sustainable within communities over time. The classroom image here reflects the real-world context where many of these programs are applied and studied. Here we have a range of evidence-based prevention programs tailored for different stages of development, starting from birth through adolescence. First, the Nurse-Family Partnership offers targeted support to young, low-income mothers through nurse home visits, focusing on health and parenting from pregnancy until the child is 2 years old. Moving into middle childhood, programs like PATHS help children develop emotional and social skills within schools, while Big Brothers Big Sisters provides valuable one-on-one mentoring relationships for youth guidance. During early adolescence, life skills training teaches essential self-management and substance avoidance skills, and the Iowa Strengthening Families program works to improve family communication and parenting. Finally, adolescence programs such as School Transition Environment restructure schools to create supportive settings, and the Teen Outreach program combines community service with developmental education to engage youth constructively. These initiatives highlight how building supportive relationships and teaching social and self-regulation skills can promote positive development and prevent problem behaviors. Here we see three major future directions in risk, resilience, and prevention research. First, multilevel analyses that examine gene-environment interactions help us understand how biological and social factors work together to influence development. Next, there's a strong focus on best practices and evidence-based interventions, ensuring that the latest scientific findings translate into effective community programs that are implemented with high quality and sustained over time. Finally, benefit-cost analyses are becoming crucial, helping us evaluate the financial costs and benefits of prevention programs, which guides public policy and resource allocation to maximize impact. Together, these approaches offer a comprehensive path forward for advancing human adaptation and well-being.